Hello, everyone. This is Ken Quigley from Keystroke. We're very excited about doing this presentation. It's not often that we present so quickly after acquiring a product, but QSales for ACT is something we're really excited about. CRM and accounting is something that I don't think a lot of CRM users really need explained. Is really a vital coupling, is something that improves the overall experience and saves time and really provides an extra level of visibility on data that people could not otherwise have. So we're really excited about this acquisition and some of the plans for it, which I'll be sharing with you towards the end. But I want to begin by saying, don't worry about writing anything down. We will be recording this, and I'm going to show you on our homepage where you can find this tomorrow. So here we're on our homepage. Just scroll down, and you'll see Keystroke training videos. Okay, and then you just scroll down and say Keystroke product videos, and it will be right down here, okay, added to the list. So don't worry about that. If for any reason you've got to leave early, every person that registered will send out a video link. Second thing is we have a lot of the product details here, pricing, trial periods, download links, all the documentation, everything along here on this page. If you're looking to navigate to it, just click on Our Programs and QuickBooks integration. Okay, and you could scroll down, and some of the features that I'll be covering, we've got included in little video vignettes at the bottom. So you can see things like initial configuration, which we're covering, toolbar customization, opportunities to invoices. So if you find that I've gone too fast on some of these, or you want to drill down a little bit deeper, you may find some of these videos useful. So please use those as a reference. Okay, and then we'll get into the sales upgrade page later. Okay, so let me bring this up. Okay, so the first thing, let's talk about the agenda. We're going to be doing a product overview. I'm going to give you a little sneak peek at some of the new features. Then we're going to discuss the roadmap. Like we didn't just buy this program to resell it. We've got some very specific roadmap plans, some that will be coming out in the coming weeks, some in the coming months, but we're really excited and want to share them with you. And the last part is surprise. We have sent out a lot of invitations to the thousands of past users of QSales, and we're hoping many of them have joined us. We'll send out some information afterwards, but a specific promotion for past users that I think you'll be really excited about. We set up a feature on our website, and I look forward to showing you that. Okay, the theme for today's webinar, it looks like someone needs to be muted. You got him, Vic?
I'm trying to, but
okay, I'm just going to remind everyone, please mute yourself so that we're not, I'm not trying to compete with background noise. And by the way, on that subject, I found out today that there is some construction going on in the commercial unit next door, so I may have, multi-levels of audio competition, but it should be fine. Anyway, let's continue. The theme for today's webinar will be on the reasons people buy QSales for ACT. And I've kind of broken them down. There's a number of different reasons, but the two main themes is it gives ACT users access to transaction histories that are normally only available in QuickBooks, but right within ACT. Now, QuickBooks is very expensive. It has lots of sensitive information, and users, people, business owners, accountants, and things like that may not want to provide all of that information to the individual ACT users. This is a tool that provides all the visibility with much less security risk. Okay, and then it also saves time. So at the same times with, reduces double entry of data and faster, more efficient work processes. Okay, so let's get started. And I think there's no better place to start than with the installation. So firstly, setup, even though you're going to see lots of intricate intertwining of the data between the two programs, the setup is really quite easy. So you got to make sure that you've got ACT and QuickBooks installed on both machines. And then secondly, that when you run the install, you should have both of them installed. I mean, or not just installed, but closed during the setup. But secondly, the installation wizard makes the whole setup super easy and intuitive. Simply run the installer, and the next time you launch ACT, you're going to see a pop-up installation wizard. Okay, so I'm just going to show you what that will look like. Okay, right down here, tools, you'll find a lot of the information is down here towards the bottom, but let's just take a look at this. I'm not going to do a drill down on each and every one. We're not going to go through a setup. That's not terribly good television, but I just want to convey this to you that, this is a rather nice way of showing how much trouble they've gone to make this very, very straightforward setup. Okay, so you can click on the build fields. Now this will create all of the fields under the QB data tab, which I'll show you in a bit. And then it will install the layout for that. Okay, now the next thing is the setup. And it's funny, we've had some discussions with the original developer of this. We've kind of laughed and said we should probably reverse the setup up here. But the set mapping basically means you're going to see a lot of information going back and forth between ACT and QuickBooks. And setup mapping basically means you want to make sure that the fields are mapped properly, so that the proper address fields, countries, and things like that. And this is something, now I've enabled some of the custom fields so you can see some of these, but generally we just tell people to click on restore to defaults, and that will map up most of them accurately. One conspicuous exception for this: if you are a Canadian users, depending on your database, you'll have to map province and postal code manually. Okay, we're obviously Canadian, so that was something that we picked up on. Okay, and then the actually creating the linkage between the two programs, which is the install certificate. Not going to get into that, but when you do click on this, if everything's set up properly, you'll see this little QuickBooks button flashing. You'll accept the installation, and that's it. There's nothing technical about this. You just provide the two programs permission to communicate. Okay, and then we're going to get into the link wizard separately. Okay, and then you'll get into the nightly, because it has a transfer or a nightly transfer utility that will sync up the data on a nightly basis. Okay, so this is something that we'll get into, but I just wanted to kind of show you quickly as an overview what the install is like, because it's pretty simple, and I think they've done a really good job of laying it out. Okay, so let's get into that. Now, when you do the setup, there's two different ways you can do it. One, if you are a new ACT user, you basically create a blank database, and the QSales will take all of the QuickBooks data, all the customer data, and create contacts in QuickBooks, or in ACT, sorry, and it will link them as well. So it's a one-step process. It doesn't take that long, and when you do that, you can actually see that process here. Tools and data import, and all of the this is where the contact sync is here, and QuickBooks to ACT, and it basically will create the database for you. It's not that big, okay, and I'll get into a bit of that later. I've got some visual illustrations of how little of a size impact it makes on the database. Okay, and then once you've got that set up, then you do your first time transfer, okay, of all of the accounting data. And this is really key, because a lot of the information that you would normally have to go to QuickBooks for, detailed transactional history, is now going to be all available in ACT, which is where the users need it. Now, just some of the things that I'm just going to show you here. Just very, very high level overview. Try to go back. You'll see that this 365, obviously that's 365 with a 0, so it's 10 years. Generally, a good rule of thumb is to go back 5 years. Okay, so around 1,800 days. Same here and same here, and that will match typically the number of years that will are displayed in the QB data tab, which we'll show separately. Okay, and in terms of the data, I suggest checking all of them. I don't like including non-posting transactions, so leave out things like estimates because those are non-posting. They don't really have any impact. Purchase orders are often non-posting as well, but they provide a purchase trail, so you may find that a little bit more useful. Okay, and then with us, this particular database, what I did is I did this the other day, created a blank database, and I used this to populate the ACT database, and then I brought over all the data. Just to give you context here. So if we look up all contacts, so we have just under 6,700 contacts, okay? There is 63,000 transactions that were brought over, Okay. Now, one of the big concerns that people have, you know, without knowing better about QSales or any kind of accounting integration is the amount of impact it's going to have on your database. Like, is it suddenly going to bloat up? Well, I actually did some demonstrations and I want to show you what it actually did to our database. So here is the original database that we have in production. What I did is I created two types of QSales data. I removed all of the history and I brought it down to this, which is about 3,600 megs. And then I imported it in all of the transactions that I talked to you about, and it basically kept it at about 3,600 megs. Like, it was literally a negligible difference. Then I created a brand new database, like we're seeing here, the QSales demo one up here, and I created all the new contacts and I brought over the 63,000 transactions, and this is how big it is. So if you're ever worried about how big of an impact this is going to have on your database, this leaves a dramatically smaller footprint than most people imagine. So I just wanted to illustrate that because that was actually a concern I had initially. Okay. Now, once the setup is the setup and the linkage is done and the first sync is complete, and let me just kind of bring that back up. Okay, this is where the transaction sync would take place. It would bring all over the information. Obviously, I can't tell you how long it's going to take. It's like saying how long is a piece of string. It's going to depend on the amount of data that you're bringing over and the density of it. Okay. Now, once that's done, you have the information populated in your data. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So it will create 3 tabs. Now, in our iteration, and by the way, I'm going to show you some of the changes that we made, and we're going to talk about some of the other ones. I'm not crazy enough to do a demo in front of a bunch of people with a completely alpha version of our updates. I leave that pleasure to Vic, but I will show you, little snippets of some of the changes, and I'll show you some of the other changes in action. So the first thing is, normally you will see the QB data. Okay, and I'm going to get into some of the details of this. Then you're going to see the QSales transaction. So here's custom tables of every single transaction relating to this particular customer. And then QItems, which is actually showing you the products. Okay, and then one of the things I'm going to show you is the new way that we're going to be presenting the data. Okay, these are the 3 tabs that get installed. And then what we're going to be doing is presenting it like this. Okay, so that you can actually use the full power of custom tables to do a lot more of the with the data. I'm going to get into that a little later. And then one of the other things that that this does is a very, very new feature. Typically, all of the accounting data that you looked at with QSales data was contact specific. So, if you wanted to look up a particular customer, you would get all their transactions. But if you're a sales rep or any other employee and you wanted to have more of a global view, there wasn't a mechanism to really show you all the transactions across the company. Now there is. So over here, we've set up a button on the nav bar, and you click on this, and this will immediately display all of the information. I'm going to get into a deeper dive of this later and show you how people can really use this information to get really critical data on either sales or things like that for their customers. But this is a global view that didn't previously exist. So we're really excited to introduce that. Okay. Now, the key detail here is that all of this data is inside of ACT. It's not a linkage to QuickBooks that you take your laptop away or take it home and you don't have access to it. All of the information that I've shown you is available in ACT regardless of where you are as part of the network or away from the network. All of this is available to you. So just keep that in mind because that's going to be a theme pretty much across the board. And I'll tell you a couple of the exceptions that we'll demonstrate later. Okay. Now, I also mentioned that every single night, there will be an automatic nightly update. The first one, depending on the data, can take a while, but everyone after that takes minutes. Okay. I mean, obviously, it's going to range based on the amount of updates through the course of the day, but because it's incremental, it doesn't take that long at all. Okay. So let me just pause here and see if there are any questions on what we've covered so far.
There was a question about current service contracts, but we'll address that at the end.
Oh, the M&S, I think I saw that, and we're actually going to cover that quite a bit about that, at the end, and I think people are going to like what we're going to be sharing. Okay.
Yep.
So the first thing is we're going to be talking about the QB Data tab. Now, this is something that people normally associate with QSales because it's the standard tab that is displayed in the marketing over the last 10 years, even though there's a lot more to it. But I just want to show you the power and why all of this information is useful. So the first part is the past due balances, okay? The past due details. So you're going to immediately see this is highlighted in red. You can see the total balance here, but this will be indicated that it's past due. And then along here, we'll show you the, how far past due it is. So those are important details. And then you're going to see key sales metrics like when was the first invoice, when was the last invoice, last payment date, last payment amount, average sale amount, okay, and then the lifetime sales amount. So this is really, really key data that you're going to get at a snapshot, okay, instantly. Okay, and then over here is the summaries per month by year. Now I have done it for only 3 years. I know it says 2 years back, but it's actually current, last year and 2 years ago. One of the default setups is to have 5 years, so you would see 2 more columns on that. Because this is a demo database, I didn't really want to kind of add that extra data to it, but even though you can see that it wouldn't take up much space. But this is what you would get. Now, what you can do is, and it's important to understand that QuickBooks is not, or QSales is not taking information and populating it into these. All of these are being calculated from the transaction tab, which is here. So all of this information is populating into here. So you're not getting, information being pushed from QuickBooks into these fields. These are all being calculated based on the updates that you get here. So what that means is that you can take away that information and make changes to it, things like that, and really get total visibility on what these numbers mean. If you were just getting this information populated, you wouldn't have any understanding what they're associated with. So this is important to understand that this is just summary information. Okay.
So Ken, quick question here. For the nightly sync, what machines and software need to be running when this happens?
Okay, so on that, you're going to need, you need ACT, you need QuickBooks, and you need the transaction utility. There's 2 pieces of it. One's the configuration utility, and one's the actual piece that does the syncing. Now, there was some concern that you had to have a licensed version of QSales on that server, even though it may not be a manned computer, which would, of course, increase the licensing cost. That is not the case. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, now I see there was a question about the online. QuickBooks Online is not compatible with this. We may look at including that in the roadmap, but right now this is a desktop application working with another desktop application, so that's our primary focus right now. And I think when you hear some of the roadmap directions that we're going, you're going to like our focus. But it's mostly going to be QuickBooks desktop users, because that is the bulk of the market. Okay, now we've seen all of this information here, and it's great. We can look at it, but what's the value of having this, in contact tables as opposed to custom tables? Well, there's a reason that we created this this summary table, and that is that when you've got this here in contact fields, it gives you the ability to view the data in different ways than if it were part of any other table. So let's take a look at this. So I'm looking at this one, it's contact specific, but let's say I wanted to look at all of the customers, okay? And let's see, because I've got, here's the ST total, which is the total total business to date. And then here is the past due, here's the total balance, current year to date, previous year to date, and then the 2 years ago. So let's just take a look at what having them in here can do for us. I can immediately say, who's got the highest amount. I can just click on this because any of these are clickable. Come on. Okay, I could see the highest grossing customer. If I wanted to go, I mean, think about this. If I wanted to go to past due, okay, I can just do a quick check. And this is not live data, so don't look at any of these guys. All these bills have been paid. Okay, but let's say I wanted to do a quick collections. I wanted to call our accounting department and say, you know what, I want you to do a quick lookup and call these people and let's get their accounts straightened out. Okay, that's how easy it is when you've got them in the contact fields, because you can really work with them in a different way. Now, because they're also in the contact fields, there is a synergy that we can build with add-ons. And this is something we were really excited about, because not only did we want to get into the accounting and CRM integration, but we have 100+ add-ons already in our portfolio of products, many of which really have a synergy with this type of accounting data in the contact fields. So the first one is easy. As all of you guys likely know, we are the publisher of Handheld Contact, the #1 mobile client for ACT for the last 15 years. So one of the things that we're going to be doing in the next month is we're going to create a little radio button during the setup that allows you to add all the critical accounting fields, and just kind of go back to this here, all the critical accounting fields. So we always have that at our disposal. So think about it. If I'm out in the field and I don't have my laptop with me, I'll be able, with one click, one radio button within the Handheld Contact setup, have the latest information on total balance, past due balance, lifetime sales amount, payment terms, credit limit, last invoice, first invoice, and you don't have to remember any of these, because we're going to set it up so that you can bring them over with one radio button that enables all of these really important contact fields. Okay, so I think most people will understand that, if you're dealing with someone in the field and you pull out your phone and look them up quickly and you see that they've got a large past due balance, then that's the kind of heads up that you're going to want to have before you start selling to them. Okay, other add-ons are useful as well. We've got Notifier that can actually send out emails that can be triggered off of past due balance information that's in here. Okay, so you can send out automatic collection emails based on 31, 61, 91, or 120 days plus. So as long as these fields remain valid, then or populated, then you can trigger automated emails. So lots of things that are really, really easy to do. Okay, that once they're automated, then it's the whole ecosystem of add-ons working together to provide an easier, more efficient system. Okay. So before I go on to the QB transactions tab, let me pause to see if there's another question.
There's one, we use ACT in an opportunity-centric mode, not the contact-centric. How does QSales handle this?
I'm going to be showing some of the features that we've added centered around opportunities, and then I'll let you guys judge for yourself. Now, obviously, if you have a lot of opportunities without contacts, which has been available since 2010, I think there will be some problems, okay? Because at the end of the day, you need someone to bill, okay? But I'm gonna just push that out a little bit and let you guys kind of decide the value of what we're gonna demonstrate, because some of these new tools are really cool, okay? So the first thing is we're going to click into the QB transactions tab. Now what this is going to do is it's going to show you all of the transactions relating to this particular contact. Now up here you can filter by the transactions. So if you want to click on select all and just say show me only the billable ones, okay, you can immediately get this type of information. Now all of this was assembled in its current version under QSales Data. But what we want to do is we want to enable more of the information, okay, in a way that harnesses the power of custom tables. So let me show you one of the things. Now we're going to clean this up, but here is the exact same data, okay, looking at it a little differently using custom tables. So now I can click on here and I can say, show me these two. Now, what's different here is that if I want to actually see the amounts, okay, I can click on summary and I can say, show me, I'll just stretch this out so you can see this, what's the total amount? And I can even say, add a new one, show me the average. Okay, so the average transaction was 7,000. The total amount of transactions was, 120,000. Now, if you're looking at this and you're at home or you're out away from the office and you're looking at this kind of detailed rich history, okay, that you can immediately drill down on, this is fantastic details to a salesperson or anyone else that's interacting with customers that have this kind of transactional visibility. So we're going to be incorporating right now, it looks like this. Okay, but we'll be incorporating some of the other features to allow things like summaries and counts and other features. Okay, now let's see. As you can see in here, each column header allows you to either filter. Okay, so let's say that I wanted to say I only cared about transactions that were, say, 1,000 and up. Okay, it can do it filter by that. And you can clear filter. Each of them have a column header. So if I wanted to sort by date, okay, I can just click on here, double click to bring up the latest one. Okay, so then you can see all the different column headers here that are, typical relating to transactions, but really, really important visibility. And this is all the transactions relating to the customers, and I've been able to filter them easily here. I can also filter by date. Okay, now let's say that I want to, and I'm going to just show you here how. Let's say we want to go here, and we click on Go To. Okay, what this will do is will actually bring us right to the transaction, okay, within QuickBooks. So there's that linkage. Now, obviously, if you're away from the office, this is not a feature that's going to be available. You've got to have access to QuickBooks, but this is something that you can immediately find. Okay, now let's say that you're a salesperson and you have been asked to quote something similar to what they have purchased in the past. So let's say I'm going to pull up this one and I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to drill in here. Yep, this is very similar to what they need to get now. So I know, speaking of the person that was talking about the opportunities, that they need to be quoted on the same kind of deal. Maybe they've got a new department, maybe they're doubling their user total, whichever, but I'm going to convert this to an opportunity because as a salesperson, I've got access to this information. So I'm going to convert this to an opportunity. Okay, now you see that it will automatically have a new open date, but you are going to have to adjust the estimated close date accordingly. I'm just going to put it to the end of the month. Okay, it's open, everything is fine. I can adjust the probability or stage, whichever. Okay, it's brought over most of that information, based on the defaults. But this is what I want to send over a quote. Now, how do I send out a quote? Well, that's one of the exciting changes that we're going to be introducing with the next version of QSales. We're building in a integrated quoting solution because we already had one and we're going to be building it right into the tool. So we're just going to click on Quoting for Act. And here brings up the quoting console. And this allows us to add shipping, required deposits, specific quoting related information. Okay, we can input in taxes, things like that. Do whatever, and it shows all the information. We can even say valid too. So if we want to adjust the, how long the quote is good for, we can do that here. Now, what does it look like? Boom. Here's the quote. It's got all of our branding, our logos, everything else looks quite professional. And if you scroll down, you can see the terms, signing, everything like that, and it's ready to go out. Okay, I like the look of that, so I'm going to then email it out. Automatically queues up an email based on the settings. Everything is ready to go. And then you just click on send, and it attaches it to the documents tab here. Now, I didn't obviously attach it, okay, but if I wanted to, if I click on end here, okay, save the documents, it's done, save quote, there it is, okay? So now, all of this, so I think Kelly, let me just pause. Kelly, you had a question regarding quoting for ACT. This quoting for ACT is going to be included in QSales with the next build, okay, at no extra charge. Vic, can you read out the question in case I just popped up very quickly on my screen?
Oh, you got it. Yeah.
Okay, good. So that's something we're really excited about, because we honestly believe that, you know, the point of the accounting integration, especially with QuickBooks, CRMs are often about managing pipelines, which is a pre-sales process, whereas accounting is often post-sales. However, you can bridge them really, really easily by introducing quoting and then converting that into an invoice. Okay, so we can take credit for the quoting piece, but let's say it gets accepted. Now we just turn around and we say, convert the invoice. The opportunity has been created in QuickBooks. I'd like to edit now. Bob's your uncle, it's ready to go. How many steps did that save? Okay, we're really excited about the efficiencies that we're building in. Now, this program was one of the industry leaders in the QuickBooks integration with ACT, and we want to make it even more efficient. And we think, you know, just building that extra little piece into the workflow really simplifies it. So we're really excited about that.
So Ken,
Okay.
there's a question.
Okay.
Can you still create a quote estimate inside of QuickBooks instead of ACT?
Oh, if you want, absolutely. I mean, the one thing, you know, I'm not a big fan of the estimate tool within QuickBooks, and I'll tell you why. The purpose of integrating this is to keep salespeople out of the accounting. Okay, anyone that thinks it's a good thing to let salespeople into their accounting, it's one of those things where, you know, if you give a monkey a gun, don't complain about the mess. I don't let any of our salespeople into the accounting, and I'm probably going to hear about that because a few of them are on this call. So I look forward to my Slack messages when this demo is done. But, you know, in truth, it's not something that they should have access to. So setting that kind of QuickBooks reliance is really, really unwise. It's also not terribly practical because QuickBooks licensing is very expensive. So now you're adding on $500 to $800, depending on which version you've got, to, you know, your licensing cost to each and every single user. Okay, so it's not something that we recommend. This is why we think that, of course, it didn't take long for the peanut gallery to chime in. No, the salespeople will never have access to the accounting. But this is why we try to keep it within the CRM, because that's their domain. That's where the salespeople work.
Now, another question, Ken. Will the quoting for ACT integration allow converting a quote, a QuickBooks estimate, into a sales order, and then convert the sales order into an invoice?
Well, if you go here, you can click it to a sales order here, and then from within QuickBooks, convert it into a sale. So I converted the opportunity to into an invoice because that is the final outcome. But I do know that a lot of companies go through that intermediary process where they convert it to a sales order first, and you can do that, and that will send it over. You can also, one of the things that QuoteWorks really taught us to do is export them all as estimates. And one of the nice things about exporting them over as estimates is that estimate will convert in one direction to the vendor as a purchase order, and into the other direction as an invoice to the end user. Okay, so whatever makes sense to your internal, you know, purchase or accounting workflow, this supports. Okay, so we can see gone through that. Now, the one other thing I wanted to just kind of quickly go back to. Okay, and we've got here. We've got, you know, convert to opportunity. And the one other thing here, now when you double click on any of these, you're going to get a general, you know, approximation of what the invoice will look like. It will contain all the information. You've got the invoice here, the invoice date, due date, when it was shipped, all the other tax information, bill to, ship to, everything, as well as in the custom tables, it's displaying each and every one of the line items. However, if you want to see something that's a little bit closer to approximating what it might look like in QuickBooks, you can click on the merge button. And if I did that fast, let me go back right here, merge to HTML, and it will bring it up and it will give you, you know, a little bit more authentic of an invoice look. Okay, now we're going to be working on building that in a little bit more clearly, and I'll get into that towards the end of the demo. Okay. Next, any questions before I go on to the QItems tab?
There's just one more now. In a multi-user setting, will some QuickBooks information be as view only for all the users or only for the licensed users with QuickSales?
Multi-users doesn't make a difference in terms of any of the functionalities. Okay, multi-users mostly will impact on, within the accounting program where you're trying to merge products, merge customers, things like that. I've been certified in QuickBooks for a little over a decade. Multi-user is, I mean, obviously it's for multi-users in a network environment, but the limits on it are mostly around merging products. I haven't come across any way that it impacts negatively on the use of this program or through this integration. Okay, so with this tab, I'm just going to quickly go into the QItems. QItems, in QuickBooks parlance is products. Okay, so if you wanted to not go in and drill through every single transaction to see what people bought, you can click here and see each of and every one of the products that they purchased. Okay, now this is useful in ways that isn't necessarily the same in transactions, because there was a feature I didn't show you because I wanted to wait for this. So let's say that I wanted to see how many people, like how many times this particular customer bought a particular product. What I can do is use the grouping function and bring this up here, and I could immediately say, okay, well, let's see how many times they bought Act for Outlook. Let's see how many times they bought Orange Care. How many times did they bought Outlook Integrator? Okay, how many times did they pay for hosting? Okay, all of these different things. How many times was their training? So each one of these things are broken down, and when I expand them, I'll be able to see all of them. Okay, so this is a feature in terms of the grouping that's far more useful within the items than within the transactions. Okay, transactions might be useful, just in terms of if you've got a bunch of different transaction types and you wanted to group them, say, by invoices or credit memos or things like that. But generally, the grouping functionality is really the most useful within this. Okay, now there is functions like here where you can do lookup items, and allows you to look up items here, and you can build it in searches. One of the things that we're discovering is that we need to change the way that QSales accesses the data, because right now it accesses it through the SDK, which truthfully, I know from our experience developing custom tables, is a real bottleneck. So we're going to revise how this accesses the data so that we can process it far more efficiently, most likely through OLADB or through a direct SQL lookups. Okay, but right now, this is a really powerful feature if your database is smaller and your transaction totals are smaller. Once it gets into the size like we're demonstrating, which, with like 6,700 contacts, all linked, 63,000 transactions, this really becomes quite a bottleneck. So what we feel is that the global view here is far more effective for looking it up, and I'll demonstrate that in a little bit. Okay, but that was really what I wanted to demonstrate around the QItems tab. Now, what I'm really excited about, one of the things that we've introduced, is the QSales Data tab that allows us to look at globally. Okay, so let me just imagine if I was a sales rep here and I'm looking at this and I want to get a view of, I'm sitting at home, I've got my laptop, I'm not linked in the accounting, but I want to see my total sales from, let's say year to date. Okay, so I'm going to go here, I'm going to say, okay, first thing is I am going to say date. I'm going to click on this and I'm going to say this year. Okay, boom. And now I'm going to say, well, my name is Paul, and I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to say, I want to see this. Okay, so these are all my sales. I can do this. Well, how much? I don't really want to have, see, I see some sales receipts because these were likely referrals that I sent through the website. But this is a little bit too much. I really want to probably narrow it down to the last couple of months. So let's go back to the date filter and say, let's go to, I'll go something a little bit more cherry picked. okay? And I'm going to say, let's do the first quarter only, okay? And now all of this is great, but I want to see some numbers because I want to hit my boss up for a raise. So I'm going to go here, see my totals, okay? And now I've got a representation of what I have sold this quarter, okay? So this is something that, think about it, sales rep in the field can do these kinds of calculations, okay? Really, really easily. So this is something that we feel that is only doable with a global view, okay? And this is why we think that having a global view, not just a context-centric view, but having a global view is really, really important. Now there is something, it's a little cool, but I want to show it to you guys. One of the things that, remember I said I wasn't going to go in with a beta version of the software because I leave that pleasure to Vic. But there is one little cool feature that we're going to be introducing, and I took a snippet of it, okay, while I was testing the software, but I'm just going to pull this up. Now, I talked to everyone here about having this past due balance and why this is important. But if it's buried under a tab, how are you going to see it? Okay, especially if you're going from from customer to customer, you don't necessarily want to be drilling it down. Well, wouldn't it be easier if that kind of information was front and center like this? So what we're going to have is we're going to have a little button here that indicates past due. And what you do is you set the amount that is acceptable to be past due, 50, 100, 500, whatever. And if it's below that amount, it will indicate green. And it will say, green, whatever the amount is. If you say that anything above $500 in past due is unacceptable, this button will be red and you'll know to stop, and you can know that you can't sell anything to this customer until that's cleared up. So this is just a little thing that we've added to the UI, but something that we think is really important because it will give top level visibility, instant visibility on a very, very important sales metric. Okay. And let's go to we've covered the QSales nav bar. Now, the top bar along here, most of these functions are going to require QuickBooks on the same computer. Okay. Now, I'll be getting into the impact of these, some of the things that we want to change. But if you click on here and you click on, sorry, here, this is where you can, let's say you want to create a customer. Let's say you've just added someone in. You can immediately create this customer in QuickBooks and it will automatically show up on the customer list. So I talked a little earlier about saving some of the double entry. This will do that. And then you can create jobs, or if the customer is in the database but not linked, here's where you can go to the trouble of linking them. Okay. Now, if you want to just create an invoice for this person, you click on here and it will invoke that function and pre-populate it, and it's ready to go. Okay. Now, as I said, most times this is not terribly practical. If you're, one or two man operation, or everyone in the business has access to QuickBooks accounting, that's fine. But generally, teams with the sales teams aren't going to have access to the accounting. So we're going to take it in a slightly different direction. Here's where, if you want to edit the record in QuickBooks, you can do it directly within the ACT interface. Now, one of the feedback that we get sometimes is, well, what's the difference between having that nightly transactions, okay, that might be 12 hours earlier, versus having a dynamic link? Well, in practical purposes, with this refresh data from QuickBooks, the differences are inconsequential. Because let's say that you are worried that you're talking to a customer and you heard that they may have paid. Then what you can do is just click on refresh from QuickBooks, and it will bring in all the updates since the last transaction. Okay, actually, sorry, it will update up to it will go back to whatever you've got set in your preferences. I'm not going to drill into that because it's not terribly interesting, the preferences, but it will update your data file with all the latest transactions. So you know that you may not have a dynamic link to that second, but suddenly you have all the data directly from QuickBooks refreshed up to that second. Okay, so we've covered the the QuickBooks, looking up items and looking up transactions, looking up jobs, the same kind of thing. Let's take a look at active QuickBooks. Let's say that you make a change here. As you can see, I've got some contact information here for Vector. So let's say that I want to update it, and I'm going to click on here. Okay. Now I'm going to go back. It's been updated. And I can see that all the information is now relating to, it says John as opposed to LCO. So it's being updated based on what is in QuickBooks. So let's say that there's a different contact person, a different billing person. That's the kind of information that a salesperson would have access to, and you can immediately make those changes from here. Okay. Now, I've pretty much finished the product overview. So I'll pause before getting into the roadmap to see if there's any questions, because I really want to kind of get into what our vision of the program is.
No, we've covered all the questions, Ken.
Perfect. Okay. So the first stage of our roadmap, this is something that's going to evolve over the next couple of weeks. This isn't months. We're likely going to be going into beta within the next 2 weeks. Some of these features are already baked in, as you saw, but I'll just kind of go through them. So the first one is to implement a custom read-only tabs functionality in the program, allowing for improved filtering and math functions. So we've seen here where we've got QB transactions this way, but when we go to the QB sales data, we get them, and we may work on tweaking on this, but we've got the full power of custom tables for looking up and filtering. So even like quick filters. So let's say I wanted to do something, relating to, I'll just type in orange. See how fast that is? None of this lookup items here. I just type in orange. I can find every single invoice that has orange care on it. Okay, so it's the speed that this accesses the information is dramatically faster. So we want to make sure that our rewriting of this, our updating of this reflects that and provides customers that kind of speed. Okay. We also said we're going to be introducing the Q transactions global view, which I demonstrated and show how I was able to filter down just with the power of custom tables, all the transactions, all 67,000 of them. And you saw how fast that worked, right? And be able to get down to something as granular as show me all of Paul's sales within Q1, okay, and then total them. Okay, really, really fast information. And whether it's the global view or contact view, we're going to be building in those kinds of filtering options. Okay. And then we're going to implement the past due notification, which I showed you the picture of up here, the big green or red button. Okay, we're going to implement the quoting, which I showed you. The quoting for Act is something we already had on the market. We're going to build it into the licensing of this, make the workflow really, really simple and integrated, even though, I mean, you saw that it worked in here relatively seamlessly. It's going to be even more so as part of the general workflow of this. But you saw how we drilled in to the transactions, converted an old transactions into an opportunity, which we converted into a quote, which we converted into an invoice. How many different steps did we take? Well, no double entry at any stage.
So
okay.
This might be a good time for the next question, Ken. Any chance you could demo the creating a quote for a new opportunity?
Oh, sure. Okay, it's very, very similar. So let's say I wanted to just create new opportunity here. Okay, now what's really important, I do appreciate this question, because one of the parts of this program, this accounting integration, is that all the products within QuickBooks are brought within, are synced into the Act. Okay, so you're going to be able to create quotes based on the items that you bill for. So I'm just going to say, okay, new op, and I'm going to add, and I can scroll down through all the different ones here. Okay, let's say I'm just going to pick on hosting. It's going to populate the price. I'm going to put in 5, okay, and then I'm going to add service, okay, and let's just say, okay, and we'll add in another 5 of those. Okay, and now I'm just going to save it. I've got the estimated, I can say the estimated close date. I'll keep it the same one. I'm going to put in here. Now we'll just click on save. So you've got a new op. Let's send out a quote. Boom. I click on this. It automatically brings in the products and services. I can change the shipping. I could put in the required deposit. Okay. I mean, there are settings here that allow you to, where is it? I think it's popping off onto another screen. I might not be able to see that, but you click on this, you'll be able to go through all the different settings, and then I could just click on preview. Done. I'm happy. Send out email. Pre-populated. You put this in the settings so you don't have to type this out each and every single time. And then you just click on send email and it goes out. Okay. And if I wanted to, as I said, if I wanted to save it, save the documents, how simple is that? Okay. So now we go back under documents and we've got a record. So nice and simple, and that's really what we wanted to do, is we wanted to provide a very, very seamless workflow, okay, that started with pre-sales straight into post-sales, and then once that comes back, then you can convert to invoice, okay? And then the last piece is rewriting the program to really improve the data speed, which I showed you. Currently, it accesses the transactional data through the SDK, which we know to be slower. So it's going to see a significant improvement through OLEDB and direct SQL lookup. So we're really looking forward to that. The second stage, I think, is going to be more interesting to a lot of the users, because this is going to be a more significant overhaul and a bit of a change in how you've used the program. So the first thing is we're going to be implementing a service for the server to reduce the need to have QuickBooks open. Okay, not only is this going to reduce the need to have QuickBooks open, but it's also going to eliminate the requirement to have one-to-one QuickBooks licensing, okay, which is going to save our customers lots of money. What do I mean by that? So right now, with QuickBooks Open, if you want to invoke it like an invoice or something from ACT into QuickBooks, you've got to have your own login, which means you've got to have your own license, okay? But if we had a service that was on the server, okay, that allowed one single connection, and we created the transactions that were stored offline and allowed you to push them through that one login, you can significantly, let's say a team of 5, you can reduce your QuickBooks licensing by $2,000 a year. Okay, so we feel that this is a worthwhile direction to go, and it will provide more ability to do everything within ACT. Okay.
I've got a couple other questions, Ken, quickly.
Okay, go ahead.
Does quoting for ACT allow multiple templates for the quotes? We have different quote templates depending on the service provided.
There is, I have to double check that. I don't remember, because I know we made some modifications to it. I know that you can have different styles for it, but I'd rather not say, because I don't want to be wrong. But I know that you can have multiple styles on it. I don't remember if you can have multiple templates. I don't think off the top of my head that we can, because we hard coded it based on the information. But I'll definitely get back to everyone with an answer on that. But that's a good question.
Great, thank you.
Anything else?
No, that was it.
Okay, so then we want to be able, as I said, to create the transactions within ACT, okay, so that basically they get stored as offline transactions that then get pushed through that one server connection, okay? And then improve the nightly syncs reliance on having the QB admin logged in and using Task Scheduler. We want to kind of get away from that and have something that's a little bit more automated and a little bit more self-contained. And then introduce. I talked a little bit about Notifier earlier. And how you can use it to automate your collection notices, your follow-up notices, things like that. We're actually thinking of introducing that as an M&S benefit. So things that people can get as they renew their and M&S stands for maintenance and support. So something that they can really take advantage of, okay? And the third stage is to actually provide the not only offline transactions, but the ability to sync them across the internet. So let's say that you are at home, you can have an offline version of ACT and be able to create transactions and push those through the internet, okay, to QuickBooks that you're hosting. Okay, so that's our third stage. The third stage may be 1 or 2 months away, but the second stage, the items that I went through, we expect that to be within beta in the next, say, 45 to 60 days. Okay, we're pretty excited about those. Now, if any other questions before I go into the next stage?
No, no questions.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the promotion that we were discussing. So I promised a surprise for all the past users, and here it is. From now until the end of June, so we're in the second half of May, so this is like another 50 days or so, we're offering a special win-back rate for all returning customers. So everyone that has purchased QSales in the past, we're going to have a special rate, and we're going to have a special way for them to actually redeem it online. So normally people who let their M&S lapse would have to, and if they wanted to get it back again, they would have to pay the full list price with each license. Okay, and then the 30% maintenance each and every year after that. First year includes M&S as part of the purchase price. And then after a year, if you want to continue getting maintenance and support, it will cost you a renewal of 30% per seat, okay? As you can tell from this demonstration, we really intend to invest in this program significantly and in the coming weeks and months to make the best ACT QuickBooks integration even better. So if you're one of those people that have let your lapse, we're going to make this limited time offer to purchase QSales again, but not at the full list price, but at the cost of M&S only. So that's right. Instead of paying $159, okay, we're offering the latest version of QSales with a year of M&S for just the cost of M&S only at $48. Okay, when you validate your past license. So let's actually see how you can find that. So you scroll down. This is the home page. Here is the top line upgrade products. Right beneath it is your QSales product. Okay, so here is the information. Gives you all the details of it. You can see there's only one drop down here, QSales. So let's see what that looks like if I take someone's past key, okay, and I paste it in, and I wait for it to validate, and here it is. It's saying, okay, the number of seats with this is 1. The maintenance status is expired. So I can now renew this for $48 and start all over again without having to buy the upgrade. This is an option that will only be available to past users and only until the end of June. So we think this is really, really competitive. But let's say over the course of the last few years, your needs have changed and you need more, then what you can do is you can buy, okay, let's say you need 5 more, okay, then those you will have to pay the $159.95, but let's actually show you how it works. So now we're going to get 6 in total. I'm going to click on checkout, okay, and what it's going to do, it's going to show you 4 seat editions. Now what $111.95 basically means is it's $159.95 minus the M&S, okay? So you've got 4 full versions, 5 M&S, okay, and now you've got your total price of $687. Now, $687 for 5, okay, would otherwise, okay, hold on, save. Okay, so that would save you, well, actually, probably the biggest saving is going to be on the first, and then because the bulk of the purchases are going to be near list price, it's going to be less impactful. But for every person that's coming back for the M&S, okay, is going to be saving basically 70%. Think about that, a 70% discount. Okay, so we're really excited about kind of, welcome people back, reintroduce the program to them, explain here's all the benefits, and get people back enrolled and seeing the benefits of the changes that we're going to introduce over the next coming weeks and months. And that is what I wanted to cover today. So let's just pause and see if there's any questions.
There's no further questions, Ken.
Excellent. Well, I hope you guys found this of value. We're really excited about the direction that we're going to be taking this. We're really excited about, really getting into this space because we think that this is vital for CRM and accounting users. And we think that this is something that is really going to help improve the overall experience for QuickBooks and ACT users. So I want to thank you for your time. I hope that this was of interest to people. And if you are a past user, and we invited thousands of you to attend, then we hope that you'll take us up on our offer. Anytime that you come back, let's say you spend the $48, you're going to get the next year's worth of updates. So in that time, you're going to see fantastic changes and improvements to the program, and we're confident that you'll find value in that. Okay, so thank you very much for everyone's time, and we'll let you get back to your day.